Undermined by Elitists. Let's get dialed in. Hello and welcome to Texas Talkin, the show where we tell you the truth about the things you're not supposed to notice. Today, you're dialed into a Texas Talkin special report. Let's talk about the Republican Party. Yes, the party that's supposed to stand for freedom, small government, and accountability. Supposed to. But what happens when the people in charge of the party are less interested in fighting the left and more interested in fighting their own voters? That's exactly what's happening right now. Grassroots conservatives, the people who knock on doors, donate $20 to candidates they believe in, and show up to vote in droves, are being undercut by the very establishment that claims to represent them. It's like hiring a bodyguard only to find out he's leaving the door unlocked for burglars. When President Trump won in a landslide victory this past month, he earned a mandate to govern, due largely to the work of grassroots conservatives like you and me. His victory, in no uncertain terms, has emboldened the MAGA brand of conservatism. MAGA is undoubtedly the future of the Republican Party. And yet some in the Texas Republican Party establishment are working to undermine our efforts. So who are these establishment types? Well, they're the ones who show up at fancy fundraisers, use phrases like electability and bipartisanship like they're magical spells, and then proceed to do absolutely nothing to advance conservative principles. In fact, their favorite pastime seems to be mocking the very voters who put them in office. You care about election integrity? Oh, that's conspiracy nonsense. You want school choice? Too controversial. You want to cut spending? That's unrealistic. These people don't fight for your values. They fight for cocktail party invitations. That brings us to a man called David Stein. Stein is the vice president of the Texas Republican County Chairmen's Association and the chairman of the Smith County Republican Party. When Stein is in front of the cameras and the common folk who he despises behind closed doors, he's all about playing the part of a caped conservative champion. Texas Talkin received a tip from one of our viewers that we looked into. And what we discovered is nothing short of alarming. We were sent an audio file along with a written transcript of a conversation involving David Stein on X, hosted by a man called Hunter Bonner. Who is Hunter Bonner, you ask? Well, he's the Republican Party chairman for Marion County. He spends most of his time on social media pushing identity politics, insulting Christians, and lives in a constant state of victimhood in which he accuses his conservative political opposition of anti-Semitism. Yes, Bonner seems to believe there are World War II-era Nazis under every rock and in every crevice of the Texas Republican Party. You're looking at some of Bonner's greatest hits that we've put up on the screen. Charming fella, isn't he? Now, Bonner only has a meager rabble of social media followers, but he makes a lot of noise and blows a steady stream of hot air. He's the unwanted gift that just keeps on giving, like that Christmas fruitcake you pass back and forth each year with your sister-in-law. Now, that brings us back to the X space Bonner hosted last year before the Republican Party of Texas State Convention, in which David Stein participated. Here's Stein sharing his apparent disgust for Grassroots America.
I've got the same thing here at my CEC. I'm the chair in Smith County. Grassroots America is right here in our county, and they're trying to stack the deck with activist type of precinct chairs.
Now imagine our surprise when we found this picture of Stein parading around a Grassroots America event, pretending to ally himself with the very people he so clearly despises. We wonder what he means by activist-type precinct chairs. Is it the kind who actually fight for our platform? Evidently, what Stein means, folks, is he would rather have what he calls a sane precinct chair. You know, the kind he can control.
I'd rather have a sane precinct chair who I know is at least going to make decisions that are going to help move the party forward. So that's step one, is that we've got until December 11th to find precinct chairs in open precincts and find people to run against these folks and get them voted.
Yes, Stein wants to recruit people who he calls loyal. Loyal to what? Well, we're not sure, but here he is again discussing what appears to be a concerted effort to undermine the conservative wing of the Republican Party.
You've got to find those people that will be loyal. The second is we must recruit 100 people per Senate district. That's the number. We have to get 100 people in 31 Senate districts. That means we'll bring 3,100 people to the convention and who will vote the sanity caucus. I heard somebody use the word sane. Because the only way, the excuses, we can't use them. The only way that we're going to enact change in what we're all talking about on this is we have to get to the convention, we have to elect a different set of SRECs, and we have to elect a party chairman and a vice chairman who are going to get back and perform the core functions of what the Republican Party of Texas is supposed to be about.
Were you not able to afford to attend last year's convention? No problem. Stein had a plan in place for politicians to get you there. Now, I'm sure they would expect absolutely nothing in return for their philanthropic generosity, right? Here's Stein once again laying it all out.
But there is a plan. There are some people at very high levels that are involved in this. I will also tell you the one wild card that hasn't been talked about is the U.S. reps are fed up with it also. And they are vehemently opposed to what's going on. I've had conversations with a lot of them. We will get funding to help people get to convention that can't afford it.
So why do they do this? It's simple. Power. The establishment wants to stay in control, and grassroots conservatives threaten that because we're not interested in shaking hands with lobbyists or keeping the system humming along. We actually want to solve problems. And that terrifies the people who benefit from the system staying exactly as it is. But here's the funny part. These elites like David Stein and Hunter Bonner will still show up at Lincoln Reagan dinners and Grassroots America gatherings with big smiles, waving flags, and pretending they love you. They'll give speeches about fighting the left while spending all their time and energy fighting you instead. The truth is, the grassroots and the MAGA brand is the future of conservatism. The people who show up, work hard, and believe in our founding principles are the ones driving real change. The establishment knows this, and that's why they're working so hard to undermine it. But here's the good news. When enough people stand up and say no more, their power starts to crumble. We know this because the little coup attempt Stein, Bonner, and others were trying to orchestrate in the conversation we just exposed failed. It failed miserably. We, as Republican Party of Texas delegates, voted in arguably the most conservative platform and set of legislative priorities we've ever had at the convention this past May. We also elected a chairman and vice chairwoman who will empower the conservative base, not undermine it and condescendingly mock it. So to the establishment, we say this: stop fighting your own voters, because in the end, it's not just bad politics, it's a losing strategy. We sent over a dozen bad Texas incumbents packing their bags this past primary season, and we're more than happy to do it again if necessary. The grassroots is here to stay, and we're not asking for permission anymore. Stay dialed in to interviews and content just like this by clicking that follow button on my Facebook page, or hit the subscribe button to learn more about exclusive access that you won't want to miss.